Hey guys, thank you for joining us again for an exciting episode of YOML. This is the Year of Magical Learning podcast. So today we're on a brand new book. We concluded the Leader Eat Last yesterday. But today we're on a brand new book. So Reflection 290 is a book that The Artist Way by
Yeah,
Julia Cameron. So
Cameron. Yeah, it's actually a pretty famous book. I think I guess I don't know. I was recommended this by one of my team members on my team, who is a
at Clothing Light.
yeah, Club Light.
Okay.
She is an actress. Uh Went to school for acting, and she hears me all the time talk about like linchpin and bringing your art to work, and all these things. And one day she's like, have you ever read this book called, I think we were in our 101, and she was like, you ever read this
Hmm.
book called The Artist Way, and by Julia Cameron? And I was like, no, I've never heard of it. And she was like, we should check it out. So I did. And that's how it ended up in this list, right?
Okay.
But the book's about a spiritual path to higher creativity by Julia Cameron. I think Julia Cameron is married or was married to some like really famous actor. I can't remember, but she's like become really famous in her own right. Um, uh, I can't remember. Martin Scorsese. She was married to Martin Scorsese. And she wrote this book back in the like 70s or something like that, and became like a pretty popular, book in general. So it's it's funny because it's pretty much everything we already talked about. It's about reflection, learning, finding ways to bring your
To bring
meaningful work
yourself.
out, and put yourself into what you do every single day. And then how to do, like, her morning pages is probably her biggest insight in this whole entire thing of like spending time reflecting each morning, and just kind of free form writing, and getting your thoughts out there, and slowly kind of understanding who you are and who you want to be, and understanding what your voice is, and getting that clarity as to bring out your meaningful work. And then she also has this thing that she does called the artist date, a dedicated block of time to nurture your inner artist. Obviously this is the same shit. This is called first things first time. This is called, it's called all this other stuff, which is, it was interesting. I loved that somebody recommended this to me, because I this is exactly, you can call this the artist way, you can call Clubany the artist way. I don't really care what you want to call it. We don't like, I mean, I call art anything that is bringing your meaningful work.
Self-expression.
Yeah, it's a meaningful, yeah, self-expression that brings meaningful work out of you. That could be tennis, that could be coding, that could be sales, that could be whatever. It doesn't matter. Like, as long as you are able to put your values and yourself into what you're doing, and it just naturally is something that only you can bring out in this world and can share with the world. Like, that's what I call art. And that's what the book Lynchpin was about, that we've talked
Hmm.
about. That's what I mean, that's really what this is. It's the artist way, I guess, if you will. Like, this is I think an important understanding of how, of kind of where we're going with clubbing in general. She also says, offer guidance on starting a creative cluster of fellow artists who will support your creative endeavors, i.e., clubbing. I mean,
Company.
like, I mean, it's just, it's kind of funny. There's so many synergies, obviously, to all this stuff. Like, I don't think we've ever claimed that we're you know doing anything revolutionary, but what we are trying to do is to apply it to what is
I think we're
revolutionary.
doing something natural, which
Right.
is the way we supposed to behave. It's
Hmm.
not, going against the grain of who you're supposed to be. You're using so much willpower to do things that, for whatever reason, it becomes the norms in society.
Right. Actually, you know what? Speaking of, side note, before we get talking about this today, I ended up having, like, probably one of the coolest one-on-ones I've ever had with actually the girl that recommended this to me.
Oh,
Her name's
really?
Chelsea.
Okay.
And we were talking about the art of running uphill today. No joke. And it was almost like I literally used almost the exact conversation that you and I had last night with her, and it was a great conversation, because she's not loving what she's doing right now, even though I know she's somebody that could embrace the suck, run uphill. She's a former valedictorian of her, high
But
school. She's, yeah,
imagine, right?
right.
You put her uphill and she's killing it.
Oh yeah,
Imagine what she could do if you orient
Oh,
her
she knows.
downhill,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, she already knows.
It's like shit.
yeah. She's always
Get
been the
out
best
of the
sitter.
way. That's what
And
I see. That's what I see. You think about
exactly.
it, right?
No,
You
oh,
know,
for sure. Yeah. No, for sure. And this is what we talked about. So I was actually like, she had this epiphany moment when I was talking to her about like, what's the worst grade you can get in academia? And she goes, like an F. And I go, no. And she goes, I was like, try again. She goes, I don't know. I mean, I was like, how about what's the best grade you can get? She was like, well, an A. And I was like, sure, yeah. And I was like, what happens when you get an A? She was like, well, you liked what you did. You were good at it, and you liked what you did, and you got an A. And I was like, okay, what happens when you get a B plus or a B or something like that? She's like, well, you were pretty good at it, but like, it probably was something you cared about, but like, maybe you weren't like perfect at it, but you were pretty good at it. It's something that, whatever her answer was, something around that. And I go, what happens when you get an F? She was like, well, you probably just didn't try, and you probably didn't care, And I was like, yeah, agreed. I was like, what happens when you get a C? And she goes, oh. She's like, I see. She was like, yeah. She's like, I know exactly what you're about to say. And I go, she was like, yeah, you're trying hard, but you suck, like you're I mean, like, and it's like, why? Like, she was like, yeah, fuck. She was like, I've always been like the best at everything I've ever done. She was like, I'm not the best at this job. And she was like, it doesn't matter how hard I try. Even when I try hard, it's like
you try the hardest and still suck.
I still suck at, and I was like, look, I don't want her to leave this role. I love her to death. She's awesome. Like, she's an amazing cultural fit. If this was Clubany, I'd be like, we need to get you doing your stuff, right? But in this role, like, I got to find a way we got to find a way to either forward or to get her into what she wants to be in or not, but like either way, my point being, like, this isn't about her. It was more about, it was just an interesting, how life, how comes together sometimes with that whole conversation of running uphill and, like, yeah, you can keep trying to get C's running uphill, but why? Like, why? I mean, like, you can go read every book you want to read and try really, really hard, but you still suck. Like, I mean, I'm bad at math in academia. I just am. Like, I mean, like, I've tried. Like, if you asked me to do that for the rest of my life, I would be like, this is torture. I mean, like, I don't know why am I trying? I'm going to try just because I'm a competitive person, because that's one of my core values is challenge myself, whatever. I mean, I could bring out any reason why I can try to make it running downhill, but I'm really just trying to trick myself because I'm running uphill, and I'm like, all right, like, let's just call a spade here. I'm running uphill. Like, what am I doing? Like, so anyway, so that's a side note from the conversation from yesterday. But for this particular reflection, it was the reflection title is dip into the well of your experiences and scoop out the visuals. I started this one off where I said, shocker, I talk a lot. And I mean, like, I talk like a lot, obviously you've known me now for many years, and
I mean, a lot.
Yeah, and I talk a lot. Like, and I love it. It's I get an A+ in talking, like, I mean, like, that is something that I am just naturally good at, love. I can talk all fucking day.
Not only you're good at it, you love it. When you get energy, I mean, you get willpower replenished when you talk.
Oh yeah.
That's who you are. You make money from talking. I do. That is your gene. That is your skill. That is your special talent. That is who Chris Sears is.
And I don't mean, though, when I say I talk, I don't mean like I talk like, I just talk like, no, I do a lot of stuff. Like, I mean, but like, even when I'm doing a lot of stuff, I talk. Like, I talk when I'm playing tennis. I talk when I'm playing pickleball. I bet my opponents are probably like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? He's over there like yelling at himself, and then 5 seconds later he's like asking me about my day, and then 5 seconds after that we're shooting the shit about life or whatever, and then 5 seconds after that he's screaming fuck, like, like probably like what the fuck is wrong with this guy? He's like, is he schizo over there? And I'm like, no, I just can't keep my thoughts in my head. Like, I just literally, it just comes out. Like, especially when I care about something. So it's like, it's compulsory for me. Like, I just can't shut the fuck up. I've tried in my life. Don't get me wrong. Like, I've tried. I think I told you about this before.
I told you can't escape who you are. You cannot pretend to be something you're not. It's torture. No, eventually, your gene is gonna make you express who you are. right? And when you do that, it feels liberating.
It does, but at the same time, the funniest part about whenever I've actively tried to go on talking strikes in my life, where I try to just be like a normal human being that just, you know, shuts up. You know what the weirdest side effect has been?
Weirdest side effect of not talking?
Yeah, not for me, but for what's been the weirdest side effect, compound effect of me not talking?
People think you're weird.
People think something's wrong with me. They're like, they're literally are like, they're like, are you mad at me? Or is there something wrong? Like, you know, and I'm like, well, no, I'm just not talking. Like, they're like,
Yeah, there's something wrong with you.
like,
I mean, definitely something wrong with you, because like if I know you for this long, and certainly you come onto the podcast and you don't talk, right?
Yep.
Something like, not only that something is a little wrong, something is really, really wrong. Because for you not to talk, it has to be very powerful enough for you to suppress that. I mean,
for sure.
something big has to happen for you not to talk.
Yeah.
So to me, so
really
for example,
off.
like for you, say, hey, you know, maybe you know, I'm angry at my, you know, the OB KBR meeting, whatever you can be, whatever. But you will talk. You can be say, I have a headache, but you will talk. I'm tired, but you will talk.
Dude, my ear is fucking killing me right
shoulder,
now.
your shoulder is hurting. Like you know, you will talk. If you don't talk, something it's so seriously wrong for you to suppress that. And to me, that is what I mean when you don't talk. That's something is really going on. Because I don't care what, because to me, I have met you for the past 3 years, almost every day now, and you had gone through so many different things. Even when you were at the NICU with Luca, right? And you were on a meeting, you will talk, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, you're in the NICU, and you go out to the you know, the waiting room or whatever, and you will have a minute, and you will talk. And you imagine if you talk in those situations when you don't talk, right? I'm gonna have like, okay, I don't know what's going on here, but something is big enough for you not to not talk. So it's something it's super powerful.
You may actually, you just reminded me of the 2 times I could think of when I've spoken the least in my life. One was after when Amelia passed away.
Yep,
I really was.
I remember that.
I mean,
I remember that.
I just stared at the wall, and like when I'd be in rooms with people, like they'd be talking, and I just didn't want to engage. Like, you know, I mean, that's just so not me. Like, you know, I was in a different world, and not engaging in this world around me. And then the other times that I don't want to talk. This is going to sound really dumb, but this is true. This is before this whole journey, to be honest with you too. So like this is another time and place. It's when I would lose like tennis matches and stuff like that. Like I would just sit, you know, despondent, like, you know, just staring off into the world, going in my head. I'm just replaying over and over and over, like, you know, how pissed off I am, or how frustrated I was that I just lost, or how angry I was about something. But like, you know, I just wasn't talking. Like I would be like, don't talk to me. Like anybody that came near me, I'd be like, just don't talk to me. I can't, like, I don't want to communicate with anybody. Well, like that's a whole other different animal than like what I'm talking about with like Amelia, obviously. But you know, that was like those would last for like 12 hours or something like that. You know, like like that, those were blips on the radar, you know, but I'm just giving an example of like when I can remember me personally, you know, not speaking for just like I normally do, you know. Anyway, so like moving back to the reflection. So I one of the things about like that I love about this journey of what we do, and like the morning pages, this is where this all comes into play. Like it's I hang on, I just got to read this a little bit. Like it should come as no shock that when I started writing these reflections, like I wanted them to be more like the Daily Stoic. I wanted them to be like no, not like exactly, but like I wanted them to be like Ryan Holiday-esque, where they were like one paragraph. This is what I wanted, right? Like this is a day's reflection, a thought. You know, I read a book. Here's a thought. Here you go, world. Take it. You know,
right?
Like that was what I wanted to do. And then
Uh-huh.
they slowly turned into like they started off even nowhere near that.
Yes, I
Um,
remember.
but they were like 300 to 500 words. Now, like I shit you not, like this is where the hell did this go? Uh, is that your voice? Is that your? Are you frozen? Can you hear me? You're like I can't hear you at all. I think your headphones might have gone out. It's like beeping. It's going like boop boop boop. Like this is my reflection from yesterday. If you can still hear me, it's like well here. How long is it? That is. It doesn't tell me the words. I don't know. It's probably got to be like 1,000, 1,500 words or something like that. Then the day before that was really long, and the day before that was really really long, and the day before that was really really long. Like I mean, look how much longer these things get. You know, it's like these are. I can't hear you at all. Actually, you can't hear me. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? What the hell? Can you hear me? No. Where's the audio? Where are like the settings? What is happening?
Hey, folks. Sorry about the technical difficulties. Sometimes weird things happen, and it is life. So here we go again.
Yeah,
Continue where we left off.
yeah.
So where were you?
I think I was oh, I was talking. Oh, I remember where we left off. We were talking. I was talking about how when I first started writing these reflections, they were supposed to be like like the Daily Stoic esque. Like a paragraph, a quick thought. About something I learned from a book and move on. Right. Take a
Mm-hmm.
lesson and go. Well, they started off even the beginning. I couldn't even do that. They were like 300 to 500 words or something like that. Now they're like 1,000. They're burgeoning now. Like even when I wrote this reflection, it was like 750 to 1,000 words, and now I feel like they're like charting into like 1,000 to 1,500 word territory. Like it just keeps getting longer and longer because I can't shut the
I
fuck up.
mean, and I know that because in the beginning, because I posted on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
After I record and I post it on YouTube. And the thing is, in the beginning, I was able to copy and just paste it, and now I have to copy it and modify because it's too long. They won't. YouTube won't take it. Like,
That's
so I
hilarious.
know exactly what you're saying. It's getting longer and longer and longer. And in
They
the
are.
beginning, we also have like we finished this fraction or whatever in 15 minutes,
Right.
and now it
Right.
goes go to an hour. We go to 15 minutes, 45 minutes, now an hour, and then now we can't even try to stop at an hour. We always go either 10 minutes over. Even if we try our darnest, it's still like 10 minutes or at least
Yeah.
over an hour. Normally it's like an hour, 15 minutes. So and it's late night. That's why we have to cut them off. So I know
Right.
exactly
Right.
what you're saying.
Oh yeah, like you're right. I mean, it's even the freaking recordings have gotten longer and longer and longer. I mean, like I just talk a lot. Like the point is I talk a lot, right? And you and I now talk a lot, together, right? Like, and that's great. This is what I love to do, and it brings, obviously you like to do it, so we do it. I think the funny part about this though is, if we think back to like the book of the Four Agreements and the reflection title from that, it was about always being impeccable with your word, right? And that's the thing that I've struggled with being impeccable with your word. How are you supposed to be impeccable with your word if you don't fucking talk and try it out and figure out what you want to say and what you don't want to say, right? Like, you got to get it out in the world. You got to try this stuff. You got to practice, right? Like, you got to practice all day long if you're gonna.
You cannot be world class just by being impeccable, right? You cannot become impeccable. I mean, you cannot have a perfect podcast until you have your first one. Your first one is gonna suck, right? It will suck. Your second one will suck. Your third one will suck, right? Your 100th one, it may get better. Maybe a 1,000th one, you may get good at it, right? Become impeccable then. But no one can be impeccable without starting as like this, like cringy. It's sometimes when you look back at the video, you say, "What the fuck did I say that for?"
You're exactly right. I don't even want to look back at him, to be honest with you. I just keep looking forward, but like nobody wakes up in the morning and or any morning, it doesn't matter. Like, just nobody wakes up and they're like, I know exactly what to say. I know how to condense down everything that I want to say in my head and share it with the world in such a concise, simple format that like, it'll be so profoundly simple that people will just understand, and I can always be impeccable with my word. That is not how it works. It takes time, effort, refinement.
I can do that. I can do that, and I can do that in a very simple way. Like, I'll show you.
Not talk.
No, I will give you something is impeccable, like E equal MC squared. Okay, that's impeccable.
Yeah.
But because I stole that from somebody.
Right.
I stole that from the guy who spent like from a fucking mad genius who spent his entire life not being
babbling
impeccable.
Babbling about.
So if I were to say to you something impeccable, there's only one reason why it's impeccable. I stole it.
That's exactly right. That's because
and I have no idea what I'm saying either when I say E equal MC squared. It's like, what does that mean? Oh.
That's such a great analogy and such a great. That's such an important thing to bring up. Like, is like the artist's way, if you will, is through trial and error and fighting and talking and sharing and perfecting and failing and learning and failing and learning and perfecting and talking and slowly but surely over time, slowly bringing that stuff out of you, so it starts to make sense. And as you try to start to have it make sense, bringing it out into the world, it eventually starts to make sense to other people potentially, because you get better and better at talking. Like, I mean, when we first started talking about Cleveny, like, good Lord. I mean, like, I don't even know. You and I like said, like, it was almost comical. It was like, it's Cleveny. Like, and then you're like, what does that mean? And you're like, I don't know. I still remember. Do you remember that guy, Kyle Lacey, that I told that we talked about, that was the CMO at Lessonly before he moved and now he's at another company altogether. I remember talking to him where I was trying to share with him, like, this is like an ecosystem for purpose-driven human beings to be able to bring their values out and blah blah blah. And he was like, it all sounds really cool, but like, he was like, I'm just gonna be honest with you, you need to condense that down into something that people can like take away from it. And I go, yeah, I know, I'm working on it, but like I had explained to him the entire story of how we even got to where we got to when we talked to him, and to even have him understand what I was trying to say, and once again, he was like, sounds really cool, but it's like, and it's a really interesting story, but like, people aren't going to have an hour to listen to the story of how we got to where we got to today every single time to want meander with us through the whole journey of like, then we hit this thing and then we learned this and we did this and we did this and then we ended up like this and but we still don't exactly know what this is. It's almost like comical how little we can describe clubbing at the beginning. Now it's pretty easy. It's you know, it's focus on your values and bring them to life, right? You know, and be around other people, do the stuff you like to do, being around other people that like to do the same stuff, and that's about it. You know, I mean, like meaningful work, meaningful relationships. Like, I mean, whatever. I mean, we've gotten way more impeccable with our words over the years by saying a lot of freaking words, right? You know,
yeah, we chisel away the non-essentials.
Yes, exactly. So, but slowly but surely over time, it starts to form something that becomes something like an art. You know, like that we can condense down and simplify and give to somebody that says E equals MC squared. We talked about this, you know, before with other stuff, right? You know, but like it's not easy. Like Taleb always says, you know, it's what's his thing about, you know, it takes anybody can understand something, but it takes a lifetime to, like, you know, what's the word? Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Taleb? You mean Taleb?
Yeah, it's like anybody can understand something, but like it takes a lifetime to like master or
yeah, something about be able to write it. Like it take it take a you know, a lifetime of mastery to write it.
Right.
Versus somebody, like you know,
Yeah, but my point being, like, equals MC squared is a great example of that, like what you brought up. But so the long story short of all this stuff is, this is the artist's way, though, is you have to keep writing, thinking, growing, reflecting, you know, moving forward, and being on that journey. Otherwise, eventually what comes out will be something that other people could consume, whether that comes out in the form of drawing, sales, marketing, mathematics, whatever, painting, you know, writing, acting, I don't care. Whatever that comes out of you as teaching, like, you know, it'll come out, though, where other people can start to see it. And like, you know, I wrote at the bottom of this one, like my dream, you know, is one day, like when I wake up and I write my own morning pages, which I do every single day. And I'm, you know, that's Amelia and I, when we're writing together, like my dream is to be like, hey, I'm going to write like one word to myself, you know, and it would be like, boom, you know, just like walk away and be like, okay, done writing for the day. Like, you know, I'm good. I know exactly what this means, you know.
This is what we call the criticism,
yeah.
and the truism. You know, that's what these are. I mean, essentially, it means. I mean, the simple phrase. It means a lot to us in the backstory of it. You know, a lot of the Beaver Mustang. It's a whole. Like, I mean, it's a whole book. You can write
there's 100 hours of conversations behind it, you know. Like, I mean, yes, there is a whole book behind it. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, a whole book behind a Beaver Mustang.
Yeah. So it's really, but the thing is, we cannot get to the point where we say, hey, Beaver Mustang, and be impactful. No one can get there unless you can, you know, bump around in the, you know, in the places where you can gather pieces of information before you can kind of put them together in something that's, you know, it's understandable by you, and then also by the people that you express this to. And so as an artist, there is not going to be a way for you to go from nothing to impeccable. It has to be, okay, you get better, you progress, you discover, you learn, you make it better, and you get to the point where the E equals MC squared. Because no one can say, well, I just woke up and I just thought of E equals MC squared. You think about how absurd that is, right? Just take that to be as simplistic as we can say to you. So be an artist, right? It's about you doing things that you want to do. It's about the effort and the actions you put into the you know, I guess the effort that it aligns to your core value. Eventually, it will get to the point where you can explain it, and when you can explain it, you become a master at whatever that subject matter is. And that's the point of being an artist. And so you can't really be afraid to start. Do what you want to do what you enjoy doing, and eventually you will get to to a place where you can say something. And, you know, we're talking about being impeccable with your words. You cannot get there until you have toil with all the little things that You need the nuances. You cannot understand all the nuances and overcome them and have solution for them and orchestrate them into this one word sentence that means succinctly what it is you want to express. You think about it, that is a mastery. That is the artist. That is the world class at what you do.
Well, I mean, it's like the alchemist, you know, you go travel around the world, you go learn everything, and then you come back and you have this profound insight of like, oh, it's here all along. Well, but you didn't know that. Like, you had to go travel the whole world. You had to go, be in the shit. You had to go down in the valley floor. You had to go learn and explore to go, oh, duh. You know what I mean? Like,
and so that's
it just it takes time. It just takes time. I mean, you got to keep exploring and keep like like we talked about this yesterday. Like I was showing you what I was writing. You said I still haven't found what I'm looking for, and I agree. Like I still haven't found what I'm looking for. I'm gonna, and I'll keep talking until I fucking find it. And probably won't stop until I'm dead. Because I'll probably never find it. Like, but that's okay. That's the fun of it, though.
But I think that's the point. Is like I said, the point of human beings is we're not meant to get to a certain destination. We are made to continue to move because we always want to discover and explore. That is built into our genes. Whatever you do, like let's say I say, well, I found something impeccable, E equals MC squared. It means nothing to me. The only thing I can know about that, hey, is some letters and some some equal sign. That's all I know about it. It has nothing to me. But the guy who actually gets to that point, he probably enjoy and understand that tremendously because that's give him the rewarding of him discovering the next step and the next step and the next step. And so for us as human beings, we inherit the same gene, is the exploration and discovery. That's why when you have, when you think about, let's say you have a body of water that is never moved, it's stagnant. What happened to the body of water? It becomes stale and becomes like yucky and putrid, right? It's gross. Right. And so our minds do the same thing. Like toxic. It's toxic because we cannot survive in that environment. Because for what I told you before is our eyes, it always have this micro movement where it's twitching like this. It is so that you don't just your images start to disappear and become black if your eyes doesn't move. You try that one day, and that's what we do. And our brains works in the same way. Is we have to continue to have this delta, the potential from one to the next, right? We go up and down like this. That's why we have to have that more of like a sine wave, right? Up and down, for us to understand like that we need to be moving, then we need to be alive. Otherwise, we just can't survive in the environment that is static, that is stale. It's just not what we are made to survive it. So for us, it's always about discovery. You have to learn, because let's say you do pickleball, and you learn everything there is to learn, and you're the best of everything. You become so bored out of your life because you have no one to play with, or you can't learn anything new, right? You become so bored with it because there's nothing newness comes to your brain. Your brain starts to shut down. It doesn't. It doesn't activate. It doesn't fire its neurons anymore. The neurons only fire when there's a potential. There's something that you need to discover, to explore, to do. So that's why people have dementia. They have Alzheimer's. It's because their brains are not in a place where they are taking new pathway. Neuron pathway, right? So when you have new neuron pathway, it creates these these connections, right? These connections, right? So like one other thing that I found out in my studies is that your exercise, right? When you exercise, physically you're in exercise, you generate neurons, right? It's there.
No, you don't generate. Yeah, you do generate neurons, but then you generate myelin that like insulates them and wraps them all up.
And so the second step is that you generate this neuron when you exercise. Okay. Right. In order for you to keep them, you have to create this the what you call the myelin, right? The myelin is what connects you to the other neuron. The connection only happens when you learn something. Learn something means, hey, I discover something. So in order for you to keep your neurons, you have to connect them.
Yep.
right? So you exercise, you build neurons. If you don't connect them, it goes away. You connect them,
The
you get to keep them. And so
the
that's what I'm saying is discovery is what makes our brain stays complete, continue to regenerate.
1,000%. Like, I mean, it's not novelty unfolds time, monotony compresses it. Like, true. Yesterday, this is no joke. I couldn't play pickleball yesterday or tennis because it was raining out all day. The entire day it was fucking raining. So I was like, I wasn't gonna go book indoor court time. It's the middle of summer, and I was in my monthly challenge is 30 minutes of pickleball or whatever. But I had that backup option of being bored for 10 minutes. This is no joke. I went and sat down in my bed, 10 minutes, stared at the ceiling. Within 5 minutes, I was asleep. I couldn't keep my fucking eyes open. It happened again. It happened again. Like, I was so bored. Like, the monotony collapsed time so much where I was like, I just got to sleep. I literally took a nap.
I mean, your brain shuts down.
It just shut down. I mean, I was like, I could. I mean, it was almost like mind blowing to me how quickly I could exhaust my brain by trying to not think about stuff. Like, I mean, it was more exhausting not thinking about something. Like, anytime a thought would come in, I'd be like, no, you can't think about that right now. Like, just let it go. Just be bored. And then the thought would come in, I'd be like, no, you can't think about that right now. You just let it go. But it wasn't like meditative. It was the opposite of meditative. It was like I was refusing to like focus on anything. Like in meditation, when you like kick thoughts out and you're like, no, I'm going to go back to my breathing. Like, we're going to focus on this one thing. And it's like, okay, a thought comes in, you're like, kick it out, focus on your breathing. No, when I kicked out the thought, I was left with no thoughts. Like, I was left with nothing to focus on. Like, so when a thought would come in and I would kick it out, like it would be like, well, what do you want me to do? And I'm like, and my brain's like going, well, I guess we'll just sleep. I don't know. Like, I mean, I guess we'll just go to bed. Like the fucking asshole won't let us do anything. Like, and I was like, I was actively telling my brain, don't do anything right now. And it just shut down in like 5 minutes. I mean, like 5 minutes. It was like, I'm bored.
That's why regardless, I didn't sleep for like 16 hours and I'm on the road. I get like drowsed to sleep in like 20 minutes. Like, it's the oozing sound and the unchanging of the scenery. Like, especially when you drive somewhere like when you drive to like West Texas, whatever, like it's just brown grass, like like just it never ends.
Sounds
like
awful.
There's no changes in scenery. That it like hypnotize your brain to go to sleep. So for me, I cannot drive long distances for some reason. And same thing is your brains, and most people brains are wired like this. And I think there's different levels, but everybody has the same gene. Is you have to have this novelty. No, if there's no novelty, you can't really survive, because your brain doesn't continue to regenerate what it needs to regenerate, because you always have to replace the old cells, right, the old neurons. And without keeping neurons, you're going to go to become dementia, or you become.
You just made me think of something like really, really, really weird. Like my grandmother, my grandfather died when I was 3. He was like in his mid 40s when he passed away. He was like 45 or something like that. My grandma had my mom when she was really young. She was the oldest, and my mom had my sister and me when she was like in her early 20s. So like them being like 45 years old like wasn't weird, or anything like that. Like my grandfather was 45 when he passed away, and I was only like 3 years old. So I never really knew him, never really whatever. My grandmother got remarried about, I want to say maybe when I was 10, so maybe like 10, maybe like 7 years later or whatever. She met this guy named Don, and she remarried him. He was a really nice guy. He was a runner. He ran like 5 miles every single day, whatever. But he was narcoleptic. And this whole like boredom thing where I just keep falling asleep, it made me just think about this. Like he would literally, he would just fall asleep. Like he was narcoleptic. Not too long after when I heard that, when I first met him, my grandmother told me, she was like, Don's narcoleptic, and I'm like, what does that mean? Like, he just falls asleep. Like, how does that happen? Like, you just sit in a chair and you just pass out, or you're at dinner and you're eating food and you just fall asleep. I was like, I don't understand. What's that? So I never really saw him just pass out, but you know what ended up happening? Take a guess. What ended up happening to Don, my grandfather, my step grandfather?
What happened to him? I mean, like he
Yeah.
he fall asleep somewhere and he shouldn't be.
Nope. He died of Alzheimer's. He about 15 years after they got remarried, when she was like in my grandmother was in her like early 50s, I think, when they got
Oh,
remarried.
really?
I think Don passed away when he was like 65. Yeah. So like the narcolepsy, like you just said, what we just said, like his brain was like dying. I mean, I makes and now just the reason why you said that, I had this like weird aha moment when you just said that of like, you know, he was narcoleptic. Then
Mm-hmm.
then he got Alzheimer's. Like, I mean, his brain was shutting down. Like it was like when you get bored, it just keeps shutting down. I mean, I'm not saying he was bored, but I'm saying like there was something
His brain is not
neurodegenerative.
regenerating.
Like
It's not generating
right,
because
right,
there's, like I say,
right.
in my studies, I have discovered that the only two ways there is two steps. You have to exercise, and you have to learn something. That is
Hmm.
to keep your brain healthy. You cannot have one way or the other, right? You can say, well, I can learn something, but it won't hold because your older neurons have to be recycled. But without
Right.
exercise, you won't generate new neurons. But if you exercise but you don't learn anything, your brain isn't going to keep that neuron,
Worthless. Yeah. Yeah. Right.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the thing is, it's two of those things that you have to have, right? And so for so one of the acronym for a good health regimen is called SHIELD. The first is called S. S stands for sleep. You have to sleep. Okay,
Yep.
that's the first and the most important thing. That's why I advocate the sleep book. Why we sleep book. The second
Yep.
one is handle stress. You cannot stress yourself. That means that whatever you
Yep.
do, don't go uphill, right? The I in shield is called interaction. It's like you me talking.
Unless wait, we need to revise this whole the art of running uphill, because sometimes you run uphill to run downhill. You run uphill to run downhill. And that's okay. You can strategically pick hills to run up and down.
Stress.
But yes, but you
Whatever,
can strategic.
whatever the uphill for you, because that uphill
Yes,
is the wide range, right?
we're talking uphill with no downhill. Uphill with no downhill. Like we're talking about a hill that never ends is what we're talking about when we say running uphill.
The hill
Like that.
the hill that doesn't have any value for you. That's the uphill I'm talking about.
No, just the hill that never ends. Like the hill that never ends is what we're talking about. Like that
Yeah,
is what we're
I
talking
agree
about,
with that. I agree with that. I mean,
it's
there's a
because
lot
sometimes
of
you want to run up a hill to run down a hill. Like like I don't mind adversity to learn and fail and grow and whatever, like to go, but I'm going up and down a hill, right? Like I get to reap the rewards of going down the hill, when I go up a hill. But if I go up a hill that only goes
well
up, like that's a different story.
that's where I mean, to me, I somewhat agree with you, but somewhat I don't, because it's a very general range of what we mean when we say upper hill. Because for example, you say, hey, let's eat the frog, so I
Yes.
eat two cakes. Like, I'm not gonna eat the frog to eat two cakes. I'm gonna figure out how to eat the cake, right? So there are ways to get
Yeah.
to the reward. If I have to eat a frog because of something that there's no other way, then yeah, I'll eat the frog for that
Yes.
particular reason.
Yes.
But
Yes.
if
Exactly.
I can
Exactly. Yeah.
find other ways to eat the cake without having to eat the frog first, then I will do that. But like I say, it's not
Agreed.
black and white in terms of, hey, this is wrong up here, this is wrong up here. Because the thing is,
Agreed. Agreed.
there are
Yeah.
so many different nuances and so many different ways. If there are ways for me that I can find ways for me to eat the cake without eating the frog, I will find those ways. But if there's
Agreed.
absolutely no other way, but I needed something beyond that, and I want that more than the 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 enduring the pain of eating the frog, I will eat the frog, right? So that I can get to what I
Yeah.
want. So yes, in that case, my alignment with my core value, it's still valid because I still want whatever that let's say I'm a beaver and I need to build a dam, right? And for me to go and chew down some trees and roots and whatever, then I will do that to build a dam.
Right.
And so to me, that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying
That's
is,
what I'm saying. That's
it's,
I agree. Right. So
but that's what I'm saying
I
is
agree.
be
So you had
impeccable with your
SH.
words,
What was
right?
I?
I is
Yes. Yeah.
interaction.
I agree.
You have
Okay.
it's
All
called
right.
meaningful relationship.
Yeah.
Okay, meaningful
Yeah.
because the
Agreed.
thing is you have to do things because you can't learn anything, right? without interacting. You can learn some stuff, but you cannot learn more, because I say if you learn something by yourself, right? That is probably like maybe 20%. If you can talk to somebody, it's going to increase it to 80%.
Oh, it's
Because when you
exponential.
talk
Like it's
exponentially, like
yeah,
the E, so interaction, you need to have interaction. Interaction is like the meaningful relationship we talk about.
Oh
The
yeah.
E is for exercise, right?
Yeah.
The exercise is what make generate new cells, right? And so that to me, that's why you, I, we exercise, we read, right? We do all that in company, and
Agreed.
this is why we get to the point where life seems pretty good to me. I mean, at least
Did
to
you
me
make
anyway.
this up?
No, I
Did you
didn't
make
make it
this
up.
acronym up? Huh?
No, I didn't make
Okay.
it.
All right. All right. Yeah, I
Yeah.
gotcha.
And the L, guess what L is for?
Learn. Yeah.
Exactly. Learn. You have to
Yeah.
learn something novel.
Right.
Learn something novel.
Right.
It doesn't matter what it is, as long as you are interested in it.
Right.
It will hold. Because when you learn something, hey, oh, that sounds cool. That's interesting, right? It's cool, and then you can talk. Like, that's why I go back to the I, right? You learn something,
Right.
you bring
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
back to the I. Just like you read the book, right? You write this reflection. You go back and you talk to
Mhm.
me, and we remember that. And then you take that, and then you go and you talk to your one-on-one, right?
Yeah. 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 I mean,
It increases the learning.
exactly.
It goes exponentially. And the
Mhm.
D, like D is for diet, right? Diet is basically for
Yeah.
it's like you have to
Eat healthy. Yeah. You
you have to
fuel the
eat
body
things
right. You know.
you
Yeah.
have to eat things that your body it needs versus eating that it's bad for your body. So
Right.
if you can do those things every single day, you will have a healthy life. You don't won't have dementia. You don't have other issues
Well,
because
in theory, but yeah. I mean,
well, the thing is, you're
yeah.
gonna optimize.
We
And I'm
don't
not.
know.
I'm not
Yeah.
saying that you're gonna live forever, because I mean, it's one of those things
Right.
where we have stressors in the environment that makes us, not, survive more than 100
Right.
years or whatever. But
Right.
essentially, that's gonna optimize you, because I told you the exercise, right, and the learning, that is for the
Mhm.
brain. The brain needs it. Without
Yep.
those two, the core component of the brain.
Well,
Because
and your body needs it too. I mean, your
your
body,
body needs it
muscles,
too.
and
Your
yeah.
body
I mean,
needs it too,
every.
right?
Well, this goes back to if you don't use it, you lose it. I mean, we've talked about this before. Like if you don't, like it's if you can be a donkey in a shed, but that is not protecting anybody. Like if you don't use it, you lose it. Like you literally well, the Sherman lost his hoofs. He's about ready to die. You know what I mean? He lost his purpose. Like and like if you don't use it, you lose it. I mean, it's true. Like so, you have to exercise. You have to do. I agree with everything you said across the board. I don't think there's anything I would even add to that, which other than maybe reflect, like because you need to think. I think you need time to step back, and think. So I don't know where that comes into play in that whole equation,
Yeah,
but
I mean,
yeah,
there's probably more. I mean,
right.
than the acronym, but I think the acronym is the basic
It's pretty
necessity
solid.
you
Yeah,
have to have, right? So
right. Yeah,
have that, have
community.
have the shield, and then you
Yeah,
can add other stuff to it, and then shield this and shield whatever.
right.
But shield is a minimum. I say it's a minimum. So a lot of
Yeah,
people, right? A lot of people they forego sleeping. To me, that is the worst mistake that I've ever made in my life, because I did that in the
yeah,
beginning. I mean, I think that's what makes me make my health deteriorate, because I do all nighters, and I
right.
sleep every other days, and I drink and Red Bull. So I violate the S and the D a lot of times. My
Yeah, yeah,
diet was
yeah.
bad, and my S was bad, right? And
Right.
and then that goes into the stress,
Oh,
right?
it's a compound effect. Yeah, I
And then
mean,
it goes
it's
into like,
yeah,
hey, no
yeah,
interaction, and then the
right,
exercise and all that becomes, so the S and the D is super important, right? To me,
right.
those two letters, those are cornerstone of your health. If you can
I agree.
practice
Yeah,
those two, you are probably like 50%. You win 50% of the battle already. And the other one in
it's
between, it's easy to do once you have those two cornerstone done.
and it's like the compound effect. I mean, it really is. Like, I mean, you do the right stuff, and it all. A friend of mine yesterday sent me or it wasn't yesterday, it was Sunday. He sent me this text saying, "Hey, you should watch this Chris Hemsworth, the Thor.
Mm-hmm.
It was some like thing that he did for something he did for Netflix called Limitless." And he was like, Chris, I feel like if this like I feel like this is like half of your life at this point in time, you know. And he was, and I was like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you referring to? And he goes, well, he's like super into like longevity. He's trying to figure out how to do things like cold showers and controlled breathing and fasting and all this other stuff, you know, and blah blah blah, you know, and that's what he's exploring in this series on Netflix. And I was like, and my first question back to him via text was like, okay, it sounds interesting, but why is he doing it? You know, and he goes, well, it's about longevity. It's about you know, living a long life. And I was like, well, that's not why I do it. Like I was like, that has nothing to do with that at all. It's pure curiosity for me. It's pure trying to find ways to connect with my daughter. You know, like it has fucking nothing to do with me wanting to live. I was like, you're gonna like, my literal response back to him was, you know, you're gonna everybody's gonna die anyway. Like I'm not worried about longevity. Like I'm worried about having a really exciting, happy life that I can be proud of to share with my daughter, you know, every single day of my life, you know, and I don't mean this to be like great. I still do similar stuff these days, right? And that's fine, but like I'm not doing it for any other purpose other than my own purpose, right? Like it's not about some quest to be around when I'm 120 or something like that, or to unlock new things of human potential. I can give two fucking shits about that. Like I really do. Like it's just about entertaining myself and having fun, you know, and being the most human I can be. You know what I mean? Like every day, because my daughter didn't get a chance to do that, and I feel like that's the only time I can connect with her. So that is what it is, right? I don't know. I thought it was very interesting to because there's so many things these days on like social media and so and, you know, and
Yeah,
you know, people like Chris Hemsworth putting stuff out there. Like it's not about longevity. I mean, who cares? Like I don't give a shit how long you live.
it's
like,
not,
I mean,
yeah, it's not about that at all.
We're all
It's
gonna
about
die. Yeah.
like I said, you know, are you enjoying the life you have, right?
Yeah.
Well, you
Right.
think about the word shield, right? Every single letter in it, it is a positive for me. When I sleep,
Right.
I like it. I mean, do you hate sleep? Right?
No, I love to. Yeah.
Right? Do you not want to have stress?
I don't want to have stress. No.
Exactly. Do you
Right.
want to talk to people?
I do. I like
Right?
it. Yeah.
Do you feel good when you exercise?
I I I don't know. I don't know about good, but I definitely feel not bad.
Exactly. It's not something
Right.
you do, because thing is, I'm not asking you to go and you know, huffing and puffing. I'm saying, hey,
Right.
go play tennis,
On a walk, you know,
go
go do some
walk,
yoga or like
go
stuff.
swimming,
Yeah.
do whatever that is fun for you. I'm not
Right.
asking
Right.
you to do
Move your
anything,
body. Yeah.
right?
Right.
So the thing is, every single letter that I'm saying, like learn. I said, don't learn physics if you hate physics. Learn
Right.
something like you wanna learn how to play better ping pong or pickleball. Learn those. Or
Right.
the like diet, right? Oh, that means strict your diet. No, I'm not saying strict your diet. Say find quality food, food that is good to taste, taste good,
Right.
and it's also good for your body. So all the letters of shield is actually what I want to do. It's not something I had to do. Oh, I'm gonna do cold shower. If you
Right.
love cold shower, that's fine. But if you don't like cold shower, it's going up, going
Don't do it.
uphill. You're going up the
Right.
hill,
Right.
right?
Right. Right.
And so it's about longevity, but longevity doesn't have to be
It
running
doesn't change. It
uphill.
doesn't matter in the moment. Longevity doesn't. Nobody gives a shit about, you know, if I'm 110.
Longevity cannot work if it's only for short term, because
Right.
longevity
Right.
is
Yeah.
sustainability. If you cannot
Right.
sustain it, then longevity is out the window. So whatever
Exactly.
you do has to be something that you like to do and looking forward to do. Because I love to sleep, I love to eat, right?
Right.
And I like to eat food. Like I, I mean, I eat like all. I mean, like it's about like imagine you eating bad food, right? You feel like bad afterward.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I
so
feel awful.
you feel awful. But if you eat good food, it tastes good. Like for me is you know, I'm in this more like a keto and carnivore diet. Like I eat like ribeye steaks all day long. Right? You think
Right.
about it, right? But I love ribeye. If you don't like
It's
ribeye, eat
enjoyable. Yeah.
whatever your
Right.
body agrees with. I'm not
Yep.
asking you to endure and go uphill for anything, right? Interaction. Am I going to interact with people that, you know, it's going to be like toxic to me? No, I'm going to interact with people that I like, because they think about it. If I interact with people that it doesn't align with what I say, right? I'm going to create the stress, right? And it's going to, you know,
Right.
throw away the H and handle the stress. So all the thing you do has to align with, is it something you enjoy doing? If it doesn't, longevity isn't in the results. It isn't going to be there.
I agree. It's not sustainable either. All right. Hang on. I can't even see on my phone, but I know what time is it?
It's 10:10.
Okay. All right. We gotta cut this off. Like, I mean, officially, I can't even read the bottom of the, what is the question? I can't even see it now.
The question say, how are you working to share what is inside of you with the world?
Okay, well, there you go. So that's the question we could leave with everybody. Like we got a good book, and the actual title, the reflection of scoop out the, what does it say?
Dip into the well of experiences and scoop out the visuals.
Like it's go deep, figure out what you're trying to say, and keep trying to figure that out until you until you can create a picture that somebody else can fucking understand. I don't care how you create that picture. Create that damn picture with your words, with your writing, with your drawing, with whatever, right? Like how do you take what's inside of your head and share it with other people where they can freaking understand?
Just imagine you are the world-class ChatGPT, okay? You have to understand that you are the ultimate AI, okay? If you can give AI all these, informations and data points, and it can give you, like, in the end, some analysis, you are 1,000 times more than that ChatGPT. If you're impressed by ChatGPT and you don't impress by yourself, there's something really wrong with you.
That's a great point,
fucking
man.
idiot.
That's
you think about that, right? Yeah. So use yourself as this AI. You are the AI created by God, right?
Yeah.
All you have to do is give yourself the information as if you give ChatGPT. Yes. You will automatically going to create patterns better than ChatGPT will ever will. Okay, so do not sell yourself short. Be the artist that is inside you. Express who you are. This is the only thing I will ask of you.
Yes, that's so good, man. Like, I agree. It's really like that's such a good metaphor and a visual to remind yourself of, like, just give yourself the right prompts, right? Like, but to give yourself the right prompts takes heart. It takes time, like to prompt yourself the right question, the right prompt, just like you would have to do with ChatGPT.
I mean, that's the thing, is you keep asking ChatGPT this question, that question. What do you ask yourself that question?
Yeah, right. Yeah, spend some time, figure it out, talk it out, think about it. Use your morning pages. Use whatever the fuck else you want to do. But, like, you prompt your goddamn self. Like, I agree. Figure out what's important for you. That's a good way to end it. All right. Well, thanks for sharing, Drew. That was awesome. Thanks for joining, everyone.
Sometimes I have my moments.
See you all tomorrow.
All right.
Just like that. Brilliant. All right. Have a good one.
See ya.